Welcome back. Let's continue on with chapter 6-1. This is question 2. We're going to be extending prices. So we will take whatever our AP cost was and get the unit cost for one of those ingredient amounts, and then we will extend it to the amount of each ingredient the recipe calls for. So let's take a look. Here we have a list of ingredients. We have how much of that ingredient the recipe wants in the recipe amount column right over here. And this is what our AP cost was for this item. So let's begin. Of course, we want to round to 3 decimal places where necessary. So our recipe calls for 6 ounces of coffee. We paid $2.53 per pound. In this column, we want to eventually end up with what does 6 ounces of coffee cost us. To do that, we need to figure out what 1 ounce costs and then get it to 6 ounces. So we are unit costing. We're continuing on with that. Let's take a look at this. We're going to take the cost of our coffee, $2.53. We're going to divide it by 16, the amount of ounces in a pound, because we paid $2.53 per pound, but we're looking for the price in ounces. So what we paid divided by how many ounces we got for that price will give us the cost of 1 ounce. Again, not necessarily concerned about that cost. We want to take the 1 ounce cost and multiply it by the 6 our recipe is calling for. And as you can see, our rounded answer for that is decimal $949 for 6 ounces of coffee. Move down to B, sugar. Our recipe wants 12 ounces. We paid 28 cents per pound. So we need to calculate the cost of 12 ounces. Again, unit costing. How much we paid? 28 cents divided by the amount of units we got. Well, since 16 ounces is equal to 1 pound and we paid 28 cents per pound, if we divide 28 cents by 16, whatever the answer is gives us the cost of 1 ounce. We'll take that 1 ounce cost and multiply it by the 12 ounces our recipe is looking for. And as you can see, our final answer here is 21 cents for 12 ounces of sugar. Milk solids, we paid $84 cents per pound, and we need the cost of 7 ounces. So again, we're going to unit cost. We're going to take what we paid, 84 cents, divided by the amount of units, 16 ounces, because 16 ounces does equal a pound. When we divide 84 cents by 16, we get the cost of 1 ounce, and we multiply that cost by the 7 ounces the recipe is looking for, and our final rounded answer is decimal $368 for those 7 ounces. Again, we continue on the exact same way. We paid 30 cents per pound for bread flour, and we need the cost of 9 ounces. 30 cents divided by 16 will give us the cost of 1 ounce. Multiplied by the 9 ounces the recipe is calling for. Final rounded answer, decimal $169 for 9 ounces. It's becoming quite easy to see the pattern forming, isn't it? $3.24 bought us 1 pound of Tillamook cheese. The recipe calls for 4 ounces. Let's divide our AP cost of $3.24 by 16, the amount of ounces we got for that price. And once we know what the 1 ounce cost is, we multiply it by the 4 ounces the recipe is looking for, and we got a final rounded answer of 81 cents for 4 ounces of Tillamook cheese. Let's take a look at the milk or the egg solids, 57 cents a pound. We need 12 ounces. 57 cents divided by 16 will give us whatever 1 ounce costs. We'll then multiply that 1 ounce cost by the 12 ounces the recipe is looking for, and we get a rounded answer of decimal $428 for those 12 ounces. So instead of going one item at a time here, I think the pattern is quite obvious. We take the AP cost, we divide it by the amount of units that we're looking for in the recipe amount, and then we multiply that unit cost by the amount of units the recipe calls for. You can pause this video at this frame if you want to go through these items one at a time, and that's not a bad idea. The reason I stopped here at apples down near the bottom is because we have a slightly different thing to take a look for. Our unit cost is $2.59 for 5 pounds of apple, and we need to know what 1.5 pounds cost. So we have to do one little bit of an extra step. It's not $2.59 per pound, it's $2.59 for 5 pounds. So the first thing we're going to do is take what we paid and divide it by the amount of pounds we got. So $2.59 divided by 5 pounds will give us whatever the number is, the cost of 1 pound. Well, now that we have a cost for a pound and we're looking for 1.5 pounds, that's what we're going to do. We're going to multiply the cost of 1 pound. That would be the result of this division by the 1.5 pounds we're looking for, and we get a final rounded answer of $777 for 1.5 pounds. And finish up with the Brussels sprouts. We paid $2.89 per kilogram. We need 350 grams. We're going to take the cost of 1 kilogram and divide it by 1,000. Of course, that's the amount of grams in a kilogram. That division will give us the cost of 1 gram. We then multiply it by the 350 grams that the recipe calls for, and we end up with a rounded answer of $1.012. There you go, extending the price. If you don't know your relationships, it is a very difficult thing to do. However, if you practice on your own and you get used to using the chart you know you're going to get for the test, it does become easier. So let's take a look at some practical questions. We're going to look at questions 3, 4, and 5 for exercise 6-1 for unit 3. So a recipe calls for 2 ounces of cornstarch. If it sells for 48 cents per pound, let's calculate, first of all, the cost of the cornstarch required for this recipe. So I need 2 ounces of cornstarch, and it costs 48 cents per pound. So obviously, if I figure out what 1 ounce costs, I'll be able to multiply it by the 2 ounces I'm looking for. So here's what your formula looks like. Your AP cost for a pound, 48 cents divided by 16, whatever that is, that gives you the cost of 1 ounce, and then you multiply it for the 2 ounces your recipe looks for, and you get an answer of 6 cents for 2 ounces. Now, the cost of rosemary is the cost of a ½ ounce of rosemary if the price is $7.04 per pound. So we paid $7.04 per pound. The recipe needs ½ an ounce. Hey, just because it's a part of an ounce doesn't mean the formula changes. It's exactly the same thing. We are going to take what we paid, $7.04, divide it by 16, which will give us the cost of 1 ounce. And now you can do one of two things. You can multiply the cost of 1 ounce by 0.5, or you can divide the cost of 1 ounce by 2, but it will get you to the same place at 22 cents for a ½ ounce of rosemary. Now, question 4, the milk question again. What a fun question. 4 liters of milk costs $4.99. Let's find the cost of each of the quantities below. First cost is 350 milliliters. So somehow we're going to have to figure out what 1 milliliter cost and then multiply it by 350. Well, once again, we start off with what we paid, $4.99. And since we're looking for milliliters, let's figure out how many milliliters there are in 4 liters. It's the metric system. It's easy. 1,000 milliliters per liter. We have 4 liters. Therefore, $4.99 is what we paid for 4,000 milliliters. If we divide $4.99 by 4,000, whatever the answer is, that division gives us the cost of 1 milliliter. Let's multiply it by the 350 milliliters we're looking for to get that final rounded answer of $437 for 350 milliliters. Same concept, except instead of milliliters, we're now looking for a cost in liters. Cost hasn't changed. We paid $4.99. So let's divide that by 4 because it got us 4 liters. And the result of the $4.99 divided by 4 is going to be the cost of 1 liter. Now that we know the cost of 1 liter, we multiply it by the amount of liters we want, 1.75, and we get a rounded answer of $2.183 for 1.75 liters. And then finally into ounces. Again, nothing different as long as you know your relationships. We're going to take what we paid, $4.99, divide it by the amount of milliliters we got in 4 liters, which is 4,000. That division now gives us the cost of 1 milliliter. We're going to take the cost of 1 milliliter and multiply it by the amount of milliliters we need to make an ounce, which is 28.4. And now we have the cost of 1 ounce. Last step, let's take the cost of 1 ounce and multiply it by the 12 ounces we're looking for, and we get a final rounded answer of $425 for 12 fluid ounces of milk. And finally, if raisins are priced at $2.84 per kilogram, let's find the cost of the below purchased quantities rounded at 3 decimal places. Remember, rounding is important. A full 30% of your final mark in this course. Please make sure you know how to do it. So we need to figure out what 200 grams of raisins cost. Our AP cost was 284 per kilogram. So if we divide 284 by 1,000, the amount of grams in a kilogram, we now have the cost of 1 gram. Whatever that number is unimportant. We just need to know what it is so we can multiply it by the amount of grams we want. So once again, what we paid, 284, divided by what we got, 1,000 grams, that gives us the cost of 1 gram times the 200 grams we're looking for. We get a rounded answer of $568. B is exactly the same thing. We are looking for 425 grams, so let's divide our AP cost by 1,000, giving us the cost of 1 gram, and multiplying it by the 424 grams that we're looking for to give us that final answer of $1.207. Now we want to see the cost of 2.8 kilograms. Well, this is even easier because we're going to take what we paid for 1 kilogram, $2.84, and multiply it by the amount of kilograms we're looking for, which is 2.8. Multiply the two, we get a final rounded answer of $7.952 for 2.8 kilograms. And lastly, for this one, we want to buy know the cost of 1.5 pounds. So again, we need to know relationships. We've got the price per kilogram. We're looking for pounds. The relationship between those two is 2.2. So let's take the cost of 1 kilogram and divide it by 2.2. The answer to that division is the cost of 1 pound. We then take the cost of 1 pound and multiply it by the amount of pounds we're looking for, in this case 1.5. And when we do that, we get a final rounded answer of $1.936 for 1.5 pounds. So there you go. Relatively simple questions to do. We're multiplying or dividing. The important part is to know your relationships. And of course, knowing how to round will guarantee you get as many points as possible.